All right, guys. So I'm going to try to take the application that I worked on a couple weeks ago. There's like a video, it's almost 2 hours long, very difficult to watch. And in that video, I created an application that had a chart in it and data, a bar chart. And just today was the MVP. It's like an hour, like I said, it was an hour and 45 minutes of work. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take that chart and extract it into its own component. And that is the goal of this video. And so I'm going to go over there. I kind of like to capture all of my behaviors because you just never know when someone's watching what gap someone might have. And then just watching somebody else do it can be very helpful. Um, so I'm just going to show you all the nitty gritty details. If you don't understand like the data structures or I mean the directory structures and stuff like that, that old video I kind of go over how that came to be. But for now, all we need to know is that there's an application, it's running. Um, Let me clear the old stuff in here, and I'm going to do an npm start just so we can get our old application. And then I'm just going to wait for this thing to come back up. And we're up. And then I'm going to show you the application. There it is. All right, so now we have our application. And what we want to do is, so what happens is you come in here and we have this SVG object, right? If we delete this object, and the whole thing breaks, right? So what we want, instead of our SVG object like that, we want our chart to have this SVG object in it. And the main reason I want that, the practical reason I want that, is because I would like to be able to put multiple charts and maybe expand the charts, enhance the charts so that they can do other things and things like that. But for now, just want to be able to pull it into its own component. So generally, the very first thing I do is um, go into my packages.json and I'll add a dash dash help to this command to my ng command, and basically what it's going to do is it's going to run this help on my local system in its context. So like I will know what's going on for this specific thing by doing this. So npm run ng. So if I had like a globally installed CLI or some other thing globally installed, it doesn't matter because it's going to use what's in here, what the context of this package is. So if I am maintaining some old Angular, I will have everything in here documented. But anyways, the one we want is ng generate. Generates and modifies files based on a schematic. So I'm going to make this a little bigger. So when we do our next command, we'll have a little bit more room to read. So I want help for the generate. So I'm going to run that. ng generate. Okay, so we can see generate will let us create all kinds of stuff, and basically it likes this ng generate and then whatever it is you want to do. So you can make an app shell, an application, class name, a class, a component, and that's what we want. ng generate component, and it's going to be our FB chart. I'm going to call it this time. I keep changing the name that I want to do, but I think FB chart is the best one because, spoiler alert, I'm going to want to be able to make this a little bit more flexible, be able to put different kinds of data in it in the future. So it's a generic chart, football chart thing. So I'm going to run this thing right now. Like we have one small change, and that's of our package, and we're not going to keep that change. So I'm just going to use it. And when this is done, what we're going to see is an error. npm looks like, I have two ngs. Me's gots two. And then we're running. Okay, so it's created these things. right? And so it also updated our app modules. So we have our app modules, we have our chart, which just says FB chart works. It created something for unit tests, created an empty styles file, and it created a empty chart component class. So if I come over here, we see no difference. There's really nothing happened to the application. Okay, so this is a great place to do a save. Um, so let's hit replace, discard, change. And what's nice about saving right here is this is the last time the application worked. And you will be shocked at how often you want to go back to the last time the application worked. So this is such a huge milestone when it comes to a software development process. So I'm going to add everything we have. So now everything is staged, and now we're going to do a commit. Git commit -m creates a new charts component. All right, git status, and we're clean. We have our new chart component. So just so you can make sure everything's wired up, this is a great time. So this, you could tell that's what I did last time. So when you delete things with Git, it does not delete old directories. So what I always do is I come in here, I make sure it made into the TS, and I make sure it named this the way I want it, app FB chart. I like having that app in the front, mostly because in my last job, we had to have app dash in front of everything, or you'd get a lint error. So I'm going to just do this. I'm going to put this up here and hit save, and then go look at our thing. Oh, there's our FB chart works. All right. So we want to take any markup that would be good for, is needed in the new component out of the parent component. So I'm going to remove that markup. I'm going to save that change, and I'm going to come over here. I'm going to hit this. Let's see what we have over here. So now we have FB chart works. Save. And now we have nothing. It's all busted up. If we do our inspect, I'm assuming, well, yeah, we have our SVG chart, but if you go to the console, you'll see that's broken. And that's because this, like, you can kind of imagine these three files as a little context. And once I moved that chart out of, once I move this chart, let me close this, out of this context, it can't see it anymore. And that's exactly what it's saying here. It's like, I can't read the native element of undefined. So like you could, it wouldn't be like the weirdest conceptual thing to think that, oh, well, if this guy can't find his chart, he'll look lower or something like that. Like there could be some sort of weird scoping tree or something like that. They could have gone, but they didn't go that direction. They made every piece have its own scope. That makes a lot of sense in the long run. But in the short run, it does make doing an improvement like this a little bit more difficult. But anyways, what we are saying is that this code here, this render chart, makes no sense in this context because it does not have a chart. So first thing to do is just say, hey, render chart needs to go. And then, and this task is very easy in this situation because there's not a whole lot going on, but it could, in a like sort of an production environment or a enterprise environment, that would. Okay, so just if you'd watched the last video, which I don't blame you if you didn't, get vertical scale is just a helper function for the drawing, and get width scale is too. So let's just grab those and hit X. Now they're gone. And let's go back over here and put this stuff into this class. So this is a good time to hit save and then come back over here and sort of just use the tool to fix things. So on line 15, we have of FB chart, it's upset because D3 has not been imported into. So if we're talking about scopes again, it's upset that this D3 doesn't exist, was not imported here. So if we come over here, and we should save this change too, that could change our errors. We need to copy this D3 over here. Now, I don't think we need D3 over here after that, so it's a good idea to remove it before we're all said and done. So actually, I'm just going to remove that, because any errors I have that are upset about D3 not existing there really don't belong in this one. Okay, so now we hit save. Oh, wait, no, that's wrong. Wrong again, Ron. Because we do need D3 for this CSV stuff. So I'm leaving that, and I'm just going to copy it. And I'm going to hit this. And now our first error is gone. Okay, let's hit save. We're probably going to have different errors because I saved the app HTML. Oh, we aren't. Okay, so the next thing is, that's old. So here's our new error. Okay, it's saying, hey, render chart. So you can hit the control button in Windows. I believe it's the command button in Mac, and I think it's the control button in Linux. And this will take you right there. Now, render chart doesn't exist, right? So we don't need that anymore. All right, we've solved another issue. We need to scroll down. Sometimes it scrolls for you, sometimes it doesn't. It probably has something to do with how I clicked into this or something. Okay, I feel like that's a duplicate. So let's go to the bottom and then scroll up. All right, so in the chart component on line 16, it doesn't know what the chart function is. So we come here and it's just like there is no chart function in this. So we declared a chart, not function, variable over here. So we don't need this. Actually, we probably do need that. And we aren't, this is what we don't need. There is no chart object on there. And so we can copy this over. Now that's going to cause a whole new set of issues, because we don't have any of those helper functions or those decorator functions installed. So we need the view child and the element ref. Element ref is it doesn't know what that is, so we'll come over here. We'll take that from the core, and basically it's just a wrapper around a native element inside of a view. And view child is a decorator function. And so anyways, we'll copy that over, see what we get next. Scroll to the bottom, scroll back up. Okay, so this is upset because it's saying that chart data doesn't exist. So we are going to get chart data, but chart data gets solved. This data gets solved and by the app component, but this component needs that. So what we need to do is use another decorator called input, because we want to input this data, chart data, from the parent. So anybody who uses this needs to provide it with chart data. And so the way you use any decorator is with the at. So at input, and then you put the name of, you execute it, and then you put the name of the variable you want, which we know it's supposed to be called chart data, and then you say what kind of thing it is. So the easiest way to determine what kind of data the chart data is come in here and see what kind of data the chart data is. So we can actually just copy all of this. And then you can hit the Alt button and your left, and it'll take you back to where you just at. And then I can just replace all of this with this. All right, so it does not know what FB data is, but it knows how to find FB data. So we're just going to let it do that, and it's just going to pull it from the parent component, which probably is going to be awkward and something we need to fix soon, but not today because the video is already going to be long enough. But basically, it's getting it from here. Probably should put it in its own interfaces file. Um, Probably going to be a future. That's going to be a real nice future video. So we'll hit save again, scroll to the bottom. Look, we're down to 2. All right. And trust me, that's not it. But so we need scale band and scale linear. Those are also something that we had imported in the parent. And this guy's letting us know that we don't even use these over here anymore. So it's best to just remove that. I do not know if that actually makes a difference. Like if Angular doesn't imports it just because you told it to, or if it says, no, I'm not importing that because I don't need it. But over here, we don't need DSV row array because that is something we used when we collected the data up, when we fetched the data from the server. All right, so it looks like the errors that we know about are gone, and we are compiling. So yeah, it's compiling, so it must work, right? Wrong. So we don't have any console errors. We don't have anything. So the reason everything is doing this is because we aren't actually giving the component the chart data. Chart data, we told it that the chart data is going to exist, but we don't do anything with it. And the way you do that is you come up to the parent where you implemented chart data and you add that in there. So the way you do that is you could say that chart data is equal to chart data. Now, this is a situation where people get confused all the time. So in English, what I'm saying right here is that the FB chart has a variable named chart data. And what I would like to do is pass it in the string chart data. But that is not what I want. What I actually want is to pass in the variable that was declared in the TypeScript to it. And the way you do that is you put this guy around it. Now that is a shorthand way, a template way of communicating to the compiler that you want to bind the chart data from the TypeScript to the code. Or another way of putting it is you would like it to execute this as code, not use it as a literal, or use it as that. Now, if you want it, you could. Another thing that I see all the time, and it just is very confusing to anyone who doesn't really understand, is people will do that. And this is basically the same exact thing as saying, hey, execute this as code. Well, the code says create a string and make the string chart data. But this is, from a practical perspective, identical to this. So anyways, this is what we need. We want to use our chart data variable. Okay, so now we hit save and everything's going to work, right? No. But I'm actually surprised we didn't get any kind of error. So the reason this isn't working, oh, yeah, the reason this isn't working is because, yes, we did move render chart over, but we never execute render chart. So let's go ahead and let's just go ahead and create a constructor. And in our constructor, we will tell it to render the chart. This is what I used to do all the time, something like this, and it ends in tears. It would take me hours and hours and hours to figure out how to fix this. Boom. It's not working. Why is it not working? Oh, because when we construct this, the CSV doesn't exist yet. Okay, so now at this point we have a lot of different hooks, and there's actually several hooks. There's at least 2 hooks that would work here for us. I have used to use the on changes for this, but I have recently moved over to the after view checked lifecycle hook, um, because I find it to be like after the view is checked, at some point after the view, after one of those views are checked, the SVG exists by guarantee. So I don't have to worry about a race condition anymore if I do it that way. But so if we want to implement that, we have to add it. And since it starts with an A, we add it here. Okay, so now we have to tell Angular that we would like to implement this new code that we just created. Okay, and then now we need to actually implement it. So we're going to get rid of this. And we're going to say ng after view checked console.log and render charts. Let's just do render charts. No, let's do after view checked. Let's try to understand what's going on here after view checked. Okay. So this got, so basically this thing, this component got had the view checked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Sometimes you'll just see this run over and over again, thousands and thousands of times. In this scenario, the view got updated 5 times for whatever reasons. It would be kind of cool, like if they added like a little argument, a little variable parameter here that told you like some reason why the view is checked. But anyways, now let's just check to see if after the view is checked, if the chart exists. And you see that it exists after the view is checked. So we should be golden, right? Well, yeah, no, we won't be. But it's a good step. And we are actually going to have a novel error the first time that we're going to see this error since I started coding this MVP. So, boom. Now, this right here it's so easy to just be like, you know what? I am going to act like this console error doesn't exist. Like you're going to be so, especially like if you're in sprints and you need to demo this on Friday and it's Thursday and all that. And it's so easy to say, you know what? I don't care. I do not care what this error is, but I am going to just move on with my life committed and then hope that nobody ever notices. And considering most PR reviewers never actually pull down the code and run it, they would never see this. And this thing could just be like this forever. But you don't want this. Okay, nothing good comes out of having these errors in your console. So let's figure out why. So it's upset the first time because total yards doesn't exist. It couldn't find total yards, and that's because this guy is looking for, it's assuming that there's going to be something in chart data. We really don't want to run this render chart if chart data is empty. So let's add that functionality. Say if this dot chart data dot length is greater than 0. Well, that would work, but let's just say, just so our fellow coder will know that, oh, okay, we want it if it's greater than 0. Like we expect the chart to be there, but it may not have anything in it. Boom, all of our errors are gone. But let's take this a step farther and let's just see, are we unnecessarily running render chart? And it doesn't, looks like we just run it one time. So that seems to be perfect. At some point, what you're gonna run into is a problem with the render chart running when it really shouldn't. Like it's already been rendered. Um, we could wait till we get that, and I think I'm gonna choose to wait to fix that. If I was in a professional environment right now, I would add a little flag, um, like a chart rendered or something like that, and then say if chart rendered, so that it would just check memory. But I think this is working fine, and there's no. It's we're robbing ourselves of a learning environment, a learning opportunity in the future if I fix that. So I'm just going to remove this console log, and it looks like we're good. We've got it there. And then so one last thing that I'll often do just to double check that things are as I want them to be is I'll add a second one. Theoretically, this should work, right? I should be able to add two of them, and they should run. There should be no weird errors, and sure enough, we are. And let's see, like, um, anyways, that's good. I think we have successfully completed our task. One quick summarization, just go over the top, make sure we haven't left any console logs or anything in here, and just make sure we understand what's going on everywhere. Um, just a quick run through this time. You could probably hear my bird back there whistling and making annoying noises and then making happy noises. She's very creative. She does different things. She'll be annoying. She'll be mean. She'll be sweet, just to get attention. So I'm gonna have to wrap this up and go out there and show her a little attention here in a second. Um, but anyways, real quick, we got rid of SVG charts and we replaced it with our own. We removed a bunch of code, right? I like to do these in English, so we removed that. And by English, I mean not in code language, but in English. So we're just removing stuff that is no longer relevant in this context, in the app context. Then we added our FB chart. We moved our SVG markup into this guy, and then moved. Then we told it to run. Okay, let's slow down. Breathe. All right. So we imported a bunch of new things. We got a decorator, a descriptor. I don't know what you call it, an interface, something that describes that. We got this automatically, and we decided to implement the after view checked. We imported D3. We imported our interface. We imported from our own personal interfaces that we made. We imported the D3 scale band and scale linear. I guess those are interfaces. And then here's where we implemented our view child. We implemented our input. We implemented our after view checked. This is our render code, which we were luckily able to not change. And then we have our vertical scale, and we have our vertical width scale, which are just two helper functions that we created before. And that's it. So that looks good. I'm going to commit that. I'm going to add everything. There's nothing that we don't want to add. I always look for the packages file. And then I'm just going to say implement or moves the chart component markup and logic to a new component. That should be useful. Get status, and we are up to date. I hope that helps. Happy coding. I'm going to go play with my bird and have a wonderful, wonderful day, week. Bye-bye.